This is Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree, a new isometric roguelite from Bandai Namco that is clearly inspired by Hades. I got to play this at Summer Game Fest 2025 and it was without a doubt one of the highlights of the show. But this is only the start of this video because I got to play dozens of games this year. And today I want to tell you about my favorites, including a new Souls-like, the new game by the developers of Journey, and a few side-scrollers that really surprised me like Marvel and Shinobi. I also got to play Demon Slayer 2 and the new Digimon, but those games got their own dedicated videos. Go check them out if you missed them. Towa definitely caught me off guard, but as soon as I got my hands on it and felt how snappy that dodge was, I knew I was in for a good time. It did take me a while to get used to it because I happened to pick a character that has a weird basic attack. You see, your basic attack here is just a slash, but you can pick any of the 8 characters available, and they all have very different attacks. I picked this guy called Shigin, and the dude just throws his sword like it's a boomerang. But that's not all. Every character actually has 2 weapons, each one with a very different basic attack, and the game encourages you to switch them often. Using the same weapon causes its durability to go down, so you gotta swap often for it to recover while you're attacking with the other one. And on top of that, you can pick another character as your support, and they bring 2 unique special moves that you can use on cooldown. This immediately gives you a ton of unique combinations to try out, but what really screamed Hades to me was reaching the end of a room and looking at those 2 doors with an icon, meaning a different type of buff awaits me, like choosing a god in Hades. It was that little detail plus the story-based progression they're doing. I mean, yeah, you unlock stuff that makes you stronger, but it also has a ton of lore for you to discover with each run you make. For instance, you can learn that the fish guy cannot swim. But don't worry folks, I was told by a Bandai rep that you can actually fuck the fish. We can all sleep peacefully tonight. Oh, and by the way, the game will also have co-op. I didn't get to try it, but instead of you picking a support, you can just have a second player running alongside you. So imagine Hades in co-op. I cannot wait for this. It comes out in September. But speaking of games inspired by other games, I also got to play Wuchang Fallen Feathers, which seems to be the next big Souls-like coming out next month. Overall, it's very much a Dark Souls. It does not shy away from being Dark Souls at its very core, but then builds up your moveset like crazy. You've got so many options for each weapon. The movesets go insane, and you can equip some spells on top of it that don't even use mana. There's no mana bar in this game, so it just felt overwhelming, the number of options I had, and they gave me a full hour to play this thing. One of the basic systems that you gotta get familiar with is the Shiny Arm. That's not the official name, I forgot what it's called. Basically, whenever you do a perfect dodge, that is, the attack actually connects with your invincible frames, your arm starts shining, and that enables you to use magic spells or some of your weapon's special moves. There's even a special move that swaps your primary and your secondary weapon. Basically, Shiny Arm equals cool stuff. There's a big talent tree in the game, and one of the first talents increased the number of shinies that I could store. Another one gave me a shiny whenever I did the second attack of my weapon, so I wasn't just getting them by dodging anymore. But this means that you have the shine very often, and that was basically my combat loop. You build up shinies, and then spend the shinies doing the cool stuff, and that loop kind of felt great. They put me at the very start of the game in my demo, and they told me, hey, once you're good with the controls and you're ready for a challenging boss fight, just let us know. So I played in this area for around 30 minutes and then called them over. Dude said, okay, we have a few different boss fights. Do you want to go to the hardest one? I said, sure. I kid you not, the dude starts laughing at me. Bro, you're the one that asked if I wanted the hardest one. Why are you laughing? Yeah, my first try, I didn't even touch him. I just got killed immediately. So another dude comes over and says, look, we've had a few hardcore Souls guys come by today, and only one person has been able to beat this boss so far. Don't beat yourself up. This is very hard. But I'll give you some tips here. You can equip this gear that has more slash resistance, and your weapon's special ability is a parry. That's all I'll say. And then I beat the fucking boss. The parry window is ridiculous. It wasn't even that hard. Whoever went by this booth and is a so-called hardcore Souls guy, fucking retire. You just got beat by an anime guy. Okay, that got a bit violent. Let's take a break and talk about some games you can vibe to, like Lumines, Arise. You might recognize this look and feel if you've played Tetris Effect, and that's because it's made by the same people. But instead of Tetris, we now have a matching game where each stage has so much detail and a soundtrack that interacts with what you're doing. I know this isn't the kind of game that appeals to a lot of people watching this channel specifically, but I found Tetris Effect quite addictive, and I immediately felt exactly the same with the 20 minutes that I had with this game. I think it's something to be experienced for sure. And speaking of vibes, let's talk about Sword of the Sea. If you've played Journey, Pathless, or Abzu, you kinda know what to expect from this, but they're somehow stepping it up once again. Your dude is skateboarding a sword, and this skateboarding gimmick means you can grind rails, you can use the dunes to do some sick jumps and tricks, and in the demo I played, I was turning this huge desert into kind of a lake by solving different puzzles. The cool thing about water in this game is that not only are you making the game prettier by solving the puzzles, you travel at a much faster speed in the water compared to sand. So it's making gameplay more satisfying too and giving you access to new areas that you didn't have before because you didn't have the speed. And I left this demo before my time was up. I could keep playing, but I felt like the more I played, the more spoiled I was getting. I was just sold on it right away. I just want to play the final game, and it's coming out in August, so I don't have to wait long. Okay. We're leaving the vibes behind now. It's time for some old school side-scrolling action. Shadow Labyrinth is a Metroidvania where your character has been chosen by a dark, edgy Pac-Man. I kid you not, this is real. It felt like a fairly competent Metroidvania game when it comes to controls. It's very analog, feels a bit basic, let's put it like that. But you've got combat, platforming, exploration, and tons of new abilities to unlock. The Pac-Man side of it is really where it's the most unique. When you turn into the sphere and ride walls, or eat every enemy you defeat and become the Pac-Man Zord. I don't know what that is, man. I think this game is hilarious. And it's no small game either. A typical Metroidvania takes around 15 to 20 hours to complete the main game. They told me this one is upwards of 30 hours for main content only. It is way bigger than it leads on to be. But my favorite side-scroller this year has got to be Shinobi Art of Vengeance. As soon as I started exploring the combo system, I immediately knew this was going to be something special. You've got so much freedom and so many moves to unlock with dodge cancels, jumping moves, and the opponents juggle in very satisfying ways. It feels like you can just keep exploring the combat as you beat each encounter, as you beat each level. And sometimes, instead of attacking the enemy's health, you can also choose to attack their execution bars, because once those are full, you can do a finishing move. And if you fill it up on a bunch of different enemies on screen, you can just It feels so nice. This game also feels incredibly smooth to play. It's also a Metroidvania. I ran into some obstacles repeatedly that I couldn't clear because I was missing the right ability to bypass them. And on top of that, it seems to have a ton of cool boss fights as well. I fought 3 of them and they were all very unique. So this was the surprise of the show for me. I wasn't expecting to like this game as much as I did. I thought it was kind of basic looking from the trailers, but it felt so nice. It really surpassed all my expectations and became one of my most anticipated games this year. And it's also coming out in August. It's gonna be a busy month. Unfortunately, I didn't get to try Ninja Gaiden. I feel like the comparison is obvious, and I would love to bring that to you, but I did swing by Dotemu booth to try out the new Marvel Cosmic Invasion. This was a bit more aligned with what I was expecting. It really does feel like an old school beat 'em up, but with a modern day polish that makes it feel even better. Every character feels like they are broken in a very specific way. Wolverine, for instance, feels insanely overpowered against every single enemy, but he can easily get overwhelmed by a big crowd, something that Storm doesn't really have a problem dealing with, for instance. Each character's moveset is fairly limited. I don't think it will take you very long to figure out this game's combat, unlike Shinobi, but the satisfying part comes from co-op. It's really cool to throw an opponent towards your friend and have them whack them back at you, like they're a ping pong ball. Plus, they've got a ton of enemy variety, a ton of little references on each stage, and interactables that make each section very memorable. This one seems like a very good one of those too. But those were my top picks for Summer Game Fest this year. Everything I didn't cover, I either didn't like and I don't think it's worth bringing up, or I just didn't get to play, like Code Vein 2. It was there, but it was just a PowerPoint. I didn't get any hands-on time with it. Still, that's way better than Capcom, who wouldn't even let me in. I just wanted to play Onimusha, man. Is that too much to ask? Did any of these games spark your interest? Did I show you something new you weren't expecting? Let me know in the comments. And for more anime games, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching. Bye.